When you think of a samurai from feudal Japan, you probably picture a strong man in armor with his hand resting on the hilt of a katana. The samurai are often associated with a strict code called Bushido, where honor meant everything. However, this image, as iconic as it is, misses a powerful and often overlooked truth for centuries. There was a group of female warriors trained in combat and as skilled as the men. These women, known as Onna-Bugeisha, were fierce fighters, and their stories have largely been forgotten over time. Today, we uncovered the incredible story of one of the last true samurai, a woman named Nakano Takeko. When the end of her world seemed certain, she refused to step aside. In a legendary final stand, Nakano led a charge against overwhelming odds with nothing but a traditional weapon called a naginata polearm with a curved blade. She and her all-female unit of warriors fought a battle they knew they could not win, defending a way of life already lost to the tides of change. This is the story of her defiance and how she became a symbol of bravery and resistance in Japan's history. To truly understand Nakano's story, we need to look back at the world that shaped her. You might not be familiar with the term Onna-Bugeisha, but these women were a respected part of Japan's warrior class for centuries. As early as the 3rd century, with the legendary Empress Jingu, who led an invasion of Korea, women from noble families in Japan were not just confined to the home, they were protectors of their clans. While men were away fighting wars, the women of these families defended their homes and villages. From childhood, they were trained in martial arts and military strategy. But they weren't just warriors. Many of them were highly educated in poetry, literature, and calligraphy, balancing cultural refinement with martial skill. The naginata became their weapon of choice. Its long reach allowed a smaller warrior to keep a larger opponent at a distance. It was particularly effective against cavalry. For the Onna-Bugeisha, the naginata wasn't just a weapon. It was an extension of their will. During the Edo period, the naginata even became part of a noblewoman's dowry, symbolizing her readiness to defend her family. Women like Tomogon became legends in their own right, with stories that inspired generations. While some historical figures like Tomogon might be more myth than reality, they played an important role in shaping the legacy of female warriors in Japan. Nakano Takeko was born into this warrior tradition. She wasn't the first of her kind, but she would become one of the last. She was born in 1847 in Edo, now known as Tokyo, to a high-ranking samurai official in the Aizu domain. Her father, a scholar and poet, was deeply committed to the samurai code. By the age of 6, Nakano had already memorized a classical anthology of poems, an impressive display of her sharp mind and discipline. But her education wasn't just academic. In a family devoted to the warrior spirit, martial training was just as crucial for daughters as it was for sons. Nakano trained under her father, but soon her natural talent became clear. She was sent to study with a renowned martial arts master, where she honed her skills with the naginata and the sword. She also studied calligraphy and Chinese classical literature, embodying the ideal samurai balance between scholar and warrior. Nakano's skills grew so impressive that she became a teacher in her own right, even instructing the wife of a domain lord. She formed a close bond with her martial arts instructor, who eventually adopted her as his daughter. Even tried to arrange a marriage for her, but Nakano, sensing the upheaval sweeping Japan, refused the match. She knew her path lay on the battlefield, not in marriage. In 1868, as Japan stood on the brink of civil war, Nakano traveled to Aizu, her ancestral home, where she began teaching other women and children to fight, preparing them for the battle that was sure to come. The country was torn between two factions, those loyal to the Tokugawa shogunate, which had ruled Japan for over 250 years, and a growing movement that wanted to restore power to the emperor and rapidly modernize Japan with Western technology. This conflict came to a head in the Boshin War, and the Aizu domain became a stronghold for those loyal to the shogunate. The samurai of Aizu were known for their discipline and fierce loyalty to the Tokugawa. For them, loyalty was not a choice, it was a sacred duty. To betray the shogun was unthinkable. This unwavering loyalty made Aizu a target for the Imperial forces, who were armed with modern rifles, Gatling guns, and cannons. The Aizu samurai, while still deeply rooted in their traditions, faced an enemy with superior firepower. By the autumn of 1868, the Aizu domain stood almost alone, surrounded by the overwhelming might of the Imperial army. As the stage was set for the final showdown, the Battle of Aizu loomed on the horizon, a battle that would define Nakano Takeko's legacy. As the Imperial army advanced toward Aizu, Nakano Takeko knew she couldn't stand by. The land of her ancestors was on the brink of destruction, and for her, there was only one way forward: to fight. She went to the senior Aizu retainers, holding her naginata, and asked for permission to join the battle. They refused. According to their strict code, women were meant to defend the home, and if the worst happened, they should take their own lives rather than face capture. Fighting alongside the men was out of the question, but Nakano Takeko wasn't one to be easily stopped. She argued fiercely, insisting that she was a trained martial artist, just as skilled as any man preparing for battle. To deny her the chance to fight was an insult to everything she had trained for. Her resolve began to win people over. More importantly, she wasn't alone. Her mother, Koko, and her teenage sister Yuko joined her. Friends, students, and other women of the samurai class, all trained with the naginata, rallied to her side. They were determined to protect Aizu, no matter the cost. Faced with this defiant group of women, the commanders finally relented. Of the women wouldn't be officially recognized as part of the Aizu army, nor would they be placed in the chain of command. However, they would be allowed to fight independently. And so, the Joshai, or Girls' Army, was born. Small group of 20 to 30 women, bound by loyalty and a desire to protect their home. Nakano Takeko, just 21 years old, became their leader. The day before their fateful charge, a shogunate army colonel named Furuja Sakuman gave them a tiny bit of recognition, formally designating Nakano as the unit's leader. While they had no official backing, they had a cause: their weapons and each other. The Forbidden Army was ready for its final stand in October 1868. The battle reached its climax at the Yanagi Bridge, a key entrance to Azusa-Wakatsu Castle. The Imperial forces, numbering in the thousands, were making a final push. The air was thick with smoke, and the sound of cannons filled the battlefield. Rifle fire ripped through the ranks of Aizu's defenders, who fought back with desperate courage. Into this chaos charged Nakano Takeko and the Joshi. It must have been an astonishing sight, a small band of women, armed with naginatas, launching an assault on an army armed with modern weapons. At the front was Nakano, a blur of motion as she swung her naginata. The Imperial soldiers were stunned to see they were facing women warriors. Initially, their commanders hesitated, ordering their soldiers not to fire. This hesitation, born of disbelief, proved to be a costly mistake. The Joshi seized the opportunity and charged forward with a fury that surprised everyone. Nakano Takeko, at the heart of the charge, became a whirlwind of destruction. Nakano Takeko led a defiant female army, fought bravely, and died honorably, preserving her legacy as a true samurai.